And this war has been aerial so far, a battle of missiles, jets and air defenses. But in week 5, there's a lot of talk about a ground invasion, basically injecting US soldiers into Iran. The question is, how would that play out? And what would be the fallout? Let's look at how the chess pieces are placed. The US currently has around 50,000 soldiers in West Asia. Normally, they have 40,000, meaning there are 10,000 extra troops right now. This includes 2,500 Marines as well. These are soldiers who specialize in landing on enemy shores. Plus 2,000 paratroopers are on their way. These soldiers come from the 82nd Airborne Division. They're usually airdropped behind enemy lines. So by the end of this week, the US could have around 52,000 troops. Most of them are stationed at US bases in the region. The remaining are on US warships. But will this be enough to invade and occupy Iran? The simple answer, no. Compare this deployment to past operations. Israel used 300,000 soldiers in Gaza. The US coalition used 250,000 troops in the Iraq war. They had up to 100,000 troops in Afghanistan, plus more than 500,000 in Vietnam. Iran would require a lot more. Iran is 4 times bigger than Iraq. It is twice the size of Afghanistan and 5 times bigger than Vietnam. So invading Iran with 50,000 troops is impossible, especially because Iran is waiting for it. They're mobilizing a ground army of 1 million soldiers. Listen to what the Iranian guards are saying.
In response to Trump's recent threats of a ground operation or the occupation of any part of Iran's territory, which is nothing more than a wish, we declare the fighters of Islam have long been awaiting such actions in order to demonstrate that aggression and occupation will yield no result other than the humiliating capture, dismemberment, and disappearance of the aggressors, and that American commanders and soldiers will become good prey for the sharks of the Persian Gulf.
Now that's a scary threat from Iran. They say US soldiers will be shark fodder in the Gulf. And that's not an empty threat. Invading and occupying Iran will be a huge military challenge. And I'll give you 3 reasons why. Number 1, the regime is still in power. This is very different from previous invasions. Just think back to Iraq. The US military captured Baghdad in less than 3 weeks. Even the locals joined in towards the end. You may have seen these pictures of Saddam Hussein's statue being toppled. You will not see that in Iran. The regime has full control of the internal security. Their army and paramilitary is equipped and ready to fight. So expect a tough and bloody response. Reason number 2, tough geography. We've already mentioned the size of Iran. Add to that rough terrain. You cannot airdrop tens of thousands of soldiers. They will have to cross over by land. So what are the options? The US has military bases in Iraq and Turkey. Both countries offer a staging ground for US soldiers. Just one problem. Look at the terrain. Both frontiers are filled with mountains, deep trenches, and narrow passes. This formation is called the Zagros Mountains. It runs from Iran's northwest and along the Gulf Coast. Think of it as a natural shield for Tehran and central Iran. It will be extremely difficult to ferry soldiers and vehicles along this route. Which brings us to reason number 3, lack of public support in America. In 2003, around 72% Americans supported the invasion of Iraq. Yes, it plunged drastically in the years to come. But when it started, the support was overwhelming. Same with Afghanistan. Both wars were fought in the aftermath of 9/11. So Americans supported military action. But this war is very different. Around 61% Americans disapprove of the strikes on Iran. Trump himself is polling at around 36%. That's his lowest approval rating since returning to office. So he doesn't have the political capital for a full-scale invasion. But will he do it anyway? Reports say the Pentagon is preparing for ground operations. That too over multiple weeks. But their target is not a full-scale invasion. They're looking at limited operations, like taking over Iran's Kharg Island or occupying locations along the Strait of Hormuz. These could involve special forces and conventional infantry. The problem is, it is still risky. Iran is preparing for a US ground attack, so American soldiers will be dropping into a killing field. Plus, even limited operations can spiral out of control. And before we know it, you are adding thousands of soldiers into the mix. Honestly, Trump has boxed himself in. He cannot declare victory unless the Strait of Hormuz is open. He cannot open the strait unless he has significant leverage over Iran. And he won't have leverage unless he occupies strategic locations.